This is land of Havilah, Leviticus 18, verse 1. Yahweh said to Moses, "Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, I am Yahweh your God. You shall not do as they do in the land of Egypt where you lived, and you shall not do as they do in the land of Canaan where I am bringing you. You shall not follow their statutes. You shall do my ordinances, and you shall keep my statutes and walk in them. I am Yahweh your God. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my ordinances, which if a man does, he shall live in them. I am Yahweh." Comment in verses 1 to 5, Yahweh says to Israel, "I'm your lawgiver. Follow my laws, not the practices of Egypt and Canaan." At this time, Yahweh was present with the Israelites at Mount Sinai. Soon he'll command them to break camp and advance toward Canaan to invade and conquer it. He promised Moses, quote, "My presence will go with you," Exodus 33:14. In verses 1 to 5, once they arrive in the Promised Land, Yahweh's planning on staying there with them. He'll be their resident king. Therefore, in verse 3, the laws of Canaan and Egypt won't apply. His law will apply. In verse 5, quote, "You shall keep my statutes and my ordinances, which if a man does, he shall live in them," end quote. That statement had layers to it because there was an element of eternal life in it. In the New Testament, when a certain lawyer stood up to test Jesus, he asked, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus gave verse 5 we just read as his answer. He said basically, if you follow the law, you'll live, meaning follow the law and you'll have eternal life. But it was a very big if when God said, if you keep the law, you'll live. Because even if a person keeps the whole law and only fails in one point, he's guilty of all, James 2:10, and he forfeits eternal life. One disobedient act excludes us from God's promise, if you keep the law, you'll live, which is why we need atonement through Jesus. Paul called the law of Moses the law of sin and death, Romans 8:2, because it's inevitable that we won't keep it and therefore will die by it. Now switching subjects to laws about incest, verse 6. "None of you shall approach any close relatives to uncover their nakedness. I am Yahweh. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father, nor the nakedness of your mother. She's your mother. You shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife. It's your father's nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your sister, the daughter of your father, or the daughter of your mother, whether born at home or born abroad. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your son's daughter or of your daughter's daughter, even their nakedness, for theirs is your own nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife's daughter, conceived by your father, since she is your sister. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's sister. She's your father's near kinswoman. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, for she's your mother's near kinswoman. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother. You shall not approach his wife. She's your aunt. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your daughter-in-law. She's your son's wife. You shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It's your brother's nakedness. Comment in verse 6, Yahweh says, you shall not approach any close relatives. In verses 7 to 16, he goes on to define what he means by close relative. He means father, mother, father's wife, sister, half-sister, granddaughter, aunt, uncle, uncle's wife, daughter-in-law, and sister-in-law. It was only a partial list. For example, he didn't say don't approach your daughter, because he obviously included daughters and others when he said don't approach any of your close relatives in verse 6. Coming up, close relatives by marriage are off limits, verse 17. You shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. You shall not take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They're near kinswomen. It's wickedness. You shall not take a wife in addition to her sister to be a rival to uncover her nakedness while her sister is still alive. Comment, Israelites were polygamous at this time, but in verse 18, there shall be no polygamy with sisters. This is interesting because Jacob married sisters in the book of Genesis. Also, Sarah was Abraham's half-sister. They had the same father, Genesis 20:12. If the law of Moses had been in effect during that time, those relationships would have been unlawful. Changing subjects, if a woman's on her period, verse 19, You shall not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she's impure by her uncleanness. Comment, 3 chapters ago, Yahweh said, quote, if any man lies with her and her monthly flow is on him, he shall be unclean 7 days, Leviticus 15:24. In verse 19 we just read, if you know she's on her period, don't lie with her to begin with. Verse 20, you shall not lie carnally with your neighbor's wife and defile yourself with her. Comment, this is the same as the 7th commandment, you shall not commit adultery. Verse 21, you shall not give any of your children as a sacrifice to Molech. You shall not profane the name of your God. I am Yahweh. Comment, this is the first mention of the god Molech, but unfortunately not the last. He's most closely associated with the Ammonites who lived east of the Jordan River, 1 Kings 11:7. His worshippers sacrificed their children to him by fire, 1 Kings 23:10. Yahweh says, you shall not give any of your children as a sacrifice to Molech. Now regarding homosexuality and bestiality, verse 22, you shall not lie with a man as with a woman. That's detestable. You shall not lie with any animal to defile yourself with it. No woman may give herself to an animal to lie down with it. It's a perversion. Don't defile yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations which I'm casting out before you were defiled. Comment, Yahweh started the chapter saying, obey my laws, not the laws of the Egyptians and Canaanites. In verse 24, it turns out that he was talking about the Canaanites when he went through the list of prohibited sex acts and mentioned sacrifice to Molech, quote, for in all these the nations which I'm casting out before you were defiled. Verse 25, the land was defiled, therefore I punished its iniquity, and the land vomited out her inhabitants. Comment, this may be where we get the term crime against nature. The land itself will vomit out the people who practice these things. Such a people won't survive as strong, cohesive nations who can defend themselves. Yahweh will see to it. Verse 26, you therefore shall keep my statutes and my ordinances, and shall not do any of these abominations, neither the native born nor the stranger who lives as a foreigner among you. For the men of the land that were before you had done all these abominations, and the land became defiled, that the land not vomit you out also when you defile it, as it vomited out the nation that was before you. For whoever shall do any of these abominations, even the souls that do them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore you shall keep my requirements, that you do not practice any of these abominable customs which were practiced before you, and that you do not defile yourselves with them. I am Yahweh your God. Comment from the New Testament, quote, now the deeds of the flesh are obvious, which are adultery, sexual immorality, uncleanness, lustfulness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, strife, jealousies, outbursts of anger, rivalries, divisions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these, of which I forewarn you that those who practice such things will not inherit God's kingdom. Galatians 5:19-21. Leviticus 19 is next at landofhavilah.net.